Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Hey, here we are.
Happy Friday! We made it.
Yes.
We made it.
Did it seem like a long week?
It was a long week, I think. Felt like a long week to me. I had a lot of different assignments.
Very long week.
I was all over the place.
Yeah, it seemed kind of long.
I wanted a 3-game series with the Royals. Really disappointed about the rain out. I know it's getaway day. You can't play a doubleheader on getaway day, but 2 wasn't enough.
Yeah, and yesterday was disappointing. A number of us from the show went to the game. We were really excited about it. Game got off to a good start, but it really didn't. The top of the first was kind of ugly.
Yeah.
But then after that, the Guardians played well from like the bottom of the first through the bottom of the fourth, and then they, uncharacteristically for them this year, couldn't hit after the fourth inning.
They didn't get
got
8
one
hit.
hit. 8 hits in the first 4 innings, 1 hit after the fourth
They didn't get a hit off their bullpen, did
No,
they?
and the Royals' bullpen is their weakness.
I thought they'd get to them, but they didn't give up a single hit. It was almost like, first of all, I was shocked when they made the pitching change. It felt like, wow, we're managing this like this is a playoff game.
Yeah.
But the move worked to perfection for Kansas City.
Yeah.
I got the feeling watching at home that it was just one of those games where I was like, yeah, the Guardians going to have to score like 8 runs this game, because it just felt to me like Kansas City was like, oh, no, we got to get this game.
It was definitely more important for Kansas City to get it.
Yeah.
That's why these games are so big. Win and you got a 6-game lead.
Yep.
Lose, which they did, and there's a 4-game lead, and there's no harm, no foul. They came in with a 4-game lead.
Right.
They leave with a 4-game
Well,
lead.
Minnesota got swept by the Yankees.
That
so
helps.
They never beat the Yankees.
What?
Never.
Do they need a team psychologist?
I don't know. This has been like 2 decades now?
It's really
they get
bull.
killed by them like every game.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable what has happened between Minnesota and New York over the last decade at least.
Yeah, at least a decade.
But it's just incredible to me that we've had teams numbers like that in the past. Detroit for a few years.
But not this length of time.
Not for that long.
This
I mean, a
is
decade,
crazy.
you're like, wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy. But we're going to talk Guardians, we're going to talk Browns, we're going to talk Cavs.
Yeah.
We've got to talk your Little League team. First place.
Yeah, although the Guardians yesterday cost my team home field advantage in the All-Star game.
Why?
So I'm in charge of the All-Star game for the Little League. We have 4 All-Star games, 1 for each grade we decided to do. Instead of having 1 for the minors and 1 for the majors.
Everybody gets to participate that way.
Not everybody, but more
each
kids.
year.
Yes.
It's tough if you're a 10-year-old to make a Little League All-Star team.
Right. So we did 1 for each grade. So I named the managers for the 8 teams.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, if the Guardians score an odd amount of runs, these 4 managers will be the home. These teams are home. The Guardians score an even amount. I was on the even amount. They only scored 3, so now
that's a fair way to do it, though.
Right,
It's
exactly.
completely and totally random.
Yes.
But the Guardians got you.
Yeah,
the Guardians got you
do me
yesterday.
any favors.
It was a field trip yesterday. Most of the UCSS guys went, or at least a handful of them. Did you guys enjoy the day?
It was, besides the loss, it was a perfect day. The weather was perfect. The stadium was packed. I mean, what crowds we had for those 2 games.
Unbelievable.
Think about it. I know schools end different times, different towns, but a lot of towns still had school.
Yeah.
And usually the Royals, and I know the Royals are better, but usually the Royals, it's not the Yankees, you know. Usually the Royals, during the week, it was good weather. I get it, and the Guardians are playing well, but I was thrilled to see 25,000 on Monday, and then yesterday it was like 27,000.
Yeah, for a getaway day, midweek.
Yeah.
A
lot of energy out
Go
there.
back the weekend before.
Oh, yeah.
The attendance was great.
Yes.
I think the Guardians' attendance year over year is up 30%.
That's huge.
That is a massive, massive jump. It's
good to see
and
fans are
it's
into
about
it.
the product. The product is a good one.
Yes.
There was a stat that it doesn't, well, it's still relevant because they did it. I think it was teams that started 40 and 20.
Yes.
On the vast majority of them go to the World Series.
10 of the 24, Jay. It was a stat Jason Lloyd tweeted out.
Yeah.
10 of the
I think it was
24
22
teams.
of 24 made the playoffs, right?
Correct. Yep.
And then 10 of 24 went to the World Series.
That's insane.
Which is almost half. And when you see 20 of 24 made the playoffs, I would say it's even higher percentage than that because most of that includes time where there was only 2 wild cards and now there's 3.
Yeah.
So I in my mind, the Guardians are like 95% to make the playoffs.
Barring a total collapse.
Yeah, they'd
which
have
is
to
possible.
really.
It's possible.
Even if they play, yes, it certainly is. But even if they play 500 baseball the rest of the way, they're going to the playoffs.
Yeah, they're in.
I was a little salty. I wasn't at the game. I couldn't go.
Yeah.
I had to talk to my counsel. We're trying to figure out. I had to talk to my legal representation.
You got a legal issue. Mm-hmm. Someone suing G. Bush?
No. It's the other way around.
Else.
Oh, you're suing someone.
I'm not. Listen, we
Not
have
at liberty to discuss?
not at liberty to discuss. They just, I just wanted
did
to see,
you wrong.
I want to see what my options are.
Yeah.
Were you pleased with the meeting?
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
lawyers usually paint an optimistic picture. They want your money.
well, listen, I'm just petty. Like I just, everybody know the saga with the Range Rover. I'm just a petty guy.
Oh,
at
it's
this
over the
point.
range.
Oh yeah.
So the insurance that you had to fix the car,
Yeah.
they're balking now.
Yeah, man, we gotta.
Oh, be careful.
Yeah. And by the way,
Did you go to Tim Misney?
I have not seen Mr. Misney.
You know what he does.
He makes a pay.
That's exactly what he does.
I got a meeting with said dealership on Tuesday.
Okay.
So we're going to see what
Do
they talk
you need
about.
an entourage? Think how impressive it would be if you walked in and Bull's on your left, I'm on your right, McNuggets, Director Steve, bring Tyvis for fun, maybe
Yeah.
Mike Polk, and we're all carrying briefcases.
Get Brad.
Brad.
Yeah.
Do you need Leroy Horde? Do
Yeah, can
you
we get
need
Leroy
muscle?
up here?
Do you need muscle?
Listen, they would not only
You'd win.
rectify the situation with the Range Rover, they would ask us to do a show in the showroom. They're like, since you guys are here, can you guys do like 15, 20 minutes?
And maybe free range for everybody.
And maybe everybody get a range, right? Oh,
I think it's a good plan.
and we can have Bull fake a seizure inside the showroom.
No, he slips and falls on a wet floor.
Listen,
and then holds his neck. What's going on over here? Got plenty of muscle with you.
Oh, I think the guy behind the counter just made an anti-Semitic comment.
I read his lips. All right, a lot to get to. We're all ready for the weekend. That's a fact. Mike, let's do our read, and then we'll dive in more on the the Royals and the Guardians from yesterday.
Yeah, let's do it. Gee, I hope that all pans out for you. But a
Yeah,
quick
I
reminder
do
that FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and FanDuel is the only sportsbook you should be using this summer when you're betting on baseball, the NBA Finals, and more. Because summertime means Major League Baseball. It means the NBA Finals. It means the Stanley Cup Finals. And you can bet all of it on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park on a specific night. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Jay, it was only a 2-game set because the middle game got rained out, as you alluded to earlier.
Yeah.
They ended up splitting the series 1-1. Let's start with yesterday's game, then look big picture, but the defense really let the Guardians down yesterday, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't want to say really let them down. I mean, they weren't great. Look, you're not going to win every game.
No.
You're not going to play clean every game. You're going to have games where you'd love to have a player or two back. You talk about that. It goes, you get it, and you give it.
Yeah.
Kansas City blew a 5-0 lead the night before, and their best player, an all-star,
Yeah.
who had hit 2 two-run homers, made a bit of a mental error and then a throwing error, and they lose 8-5.
Yeah. Mhm.
So the baseball gods give,
Yeah.
and the baseball gods take. And yesterday,
Yeah.
it was a take.
Four things about the Indians that they've been.
Guardians.
The Indians. The
I
Guardians.
did the same thing yesterday on
Yeah,
air.
I've rarely done that, but 4 things about the team that they've been great at this year that did not work for them yesterday. Number 1, the defense in general. Andres Jimenez made an error in the first inning, which is stunning. I mean, he never makes an error. Let the base runner on. Then Naylor screwed up on the pickoff play, so he gets into scoring position. Then they give up a double, so that's an unearned run. And then again, Naylor with. It wasn't an error, but if you were watching the game, folks, when they tied the, is this the play when they tied the game?
Yep.
Yeah, and
All
it
right.
was an error, Bull. I don't think it was.
They didn't score an error.
I know they didn't, but it's clearly a bad
That's a
throw.
terrible throw by Josh Naylor.
Wrong
and he got his
side.
brother hurt.
That's right. Thanks,
Because
bro.
he had to kind of spin around They called him out initially, but you saw in the replay he was clearly safe. It was a great play by, what was it, Melendez?
Yes,
Jay
great
Melendez.
job to go up and over and
Flip
get the play.
over. I mean, that was pretty sweet.
Matrix-esque.
So the defense, which is usually great, failed them. Tanner Bybee's been their best pitcher. Now, he's been a little up and down, but, you know, it was one of those games where early I was like, he had like 5 strikeouts in the first 2 innings. And I'm like, he's going to cruise through 7 today. It's going to be a big start for him. And he couldn't even get it out in the 5th. I mean, in the 6th.
You know what, though?
I
was surprised Vogt lifted him there. Those, if you go back and look at the balls that were hit, nothing was smashed. And I think Bybee was surprised that he was coming out.
Yeah, especially because Vogt's shown a lot of confidence.
Had the slider working. They couldn't hit him. They couldn't
I
see
think
him.
the reason he took him out, and what was the pitch count? It was pretty high at that point, Mike, wasn't it?
I don't think it was. I think he was in the 70s, maybe the 80s.
I think he threw a lot of pitches those
He
last
threw
2 innings.
94 pitches.
It was 94. Okay,
94,
wow.
yeah.
And he had thrown a lot those last 2 innings. And I think that's why ultimately, and the bullpen's been so lights out. This time it wasn't. Hunter Gaddis gave up a run for the first time in forever. That's another thing.
Yeah.
And another thing they've done great all year, they didn't do yesterday, there was no clutch hits.
No.
You know,
Hell, after the Royals made the pitching change, nothing.
I know, but even earlier, in the first inning when they did score 1, they had bases loaded, nobody out.
Missed opportunities.
Second inning, they had first and second, I think, nobody out.
Yeah.
I didn't understand why Kwan was bunting. I rarely questioned Kwan. I guess he was trying for a hit, but he's one of their best players. I don't want him bunting with first and second.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. I don't think it was, I don't know if it was put on or if he did it on his own.
Yeah, I think he did it on his own, probably.
Didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Rocchio got
in
a
that
butt
spot.
single later in the game. That was actually
Yeah, but with Rocchio, that's fine. He's not much of a hitter.
I know. I'm just saying,
I want Kwan to swing the bat.
I want Kwan to drive in that run. Let's go.
Yes, get it in.
And that throw that Naylor made, when I used to play first base, this is weird. Because you do play first base, you very rarely are throwing the ball. You're catching the ball and you're throwing the ball around the horn if somebody strikes out. But that used to be the most nerve-wracking throw ever, because right there you're second. It's not like you're second guessing yourself, but if you think about that throw, you got an opportunity to throw that ball over the catcher somewhere behind him. It's just difficult because you're just not used to throwing. Now it's a major league throw. You got to make it as a first baseman.
You got to
be able to make that. You're a pro.
You're a pro. You're in high school. You're in little league. You blow that throw.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
What are you gonna
As
do?
a pro, you've got to make it.
And he makes a good throw there. If you show that replay again, he makes a good throw there. He's out by a mile.
He's out.
I mean, it's not even close.
Unfortunately, it was to the wrong side of the bag.
What are you gonna
what
do?
happened was, and I haven't heard officially, but it looked like Naylor got his elbow hyperextended because he had to swing it around to tag the runner.
Yep.
And the runner had a lot of momentum coming into the elbow.
Yeah, I mean, a good throw. It's not close.
Oh, hold on.
Slide. For him to tag the base.
So
That was amazing.
he kind of spinned around when he caught it. Why didn't he?
He's got the ball right now. I mean,
if he reverse pivots instead of going around the ring around the rosy, you know what I mean?
It's hard because look where he catches it. It's completely on the other side of his body. It might have been a heads-up play on his part to spin and try to get him that way because he's closer to the point of the tag.
Yeah.
But one way or another, it's all on the throw.
Yeah.
It's all on the throw.
You got to make a better throw.
It's got to be a better throw.
Yeah.
And look, it just goes to show the margin of error that you have when you're playing a team like the Royals, who are clearly their equal. I mean, I've looked at this all along saying, this team last year was 20 games under 500 at this point. They were a train wreck. And I keep telling myself, and I do believe that they are going to falter. They are going to hit a stretch where they're not playing as good as they are now. And the Guardians may as well. But after watching them for 2 games head-to-head, this is a ball club. Salvi Perez is having an incredible resurgence.
Well, he's a superstar. It's a good ball club. I think the Guardians are better, and here's why. I think there's here's the difference. Both teams have a good, 1 through 4 in the lineup. Both teams
Really good.
Very strong top of the lineup.
Yeah.
Both teams have their issues lower in the lineup. Mm-hmm. Both teams have, solid starting pitching. The Royals' starting pitching has probably been a little better than the Guardians.
It has.
Both teams have solid starting pitching, not spectacular.
Bullpen, Cleveland,
The biggest difference is it's a huge edge, Guardians. Now, it wasn't yesterday. The Royals' pen did great. But overall for the season, the Royals' pen's been bad. The Guardians' pen's been good. That's the biggest difference. Their closer, MacArthur, who got the top of the lineup 1, 2, 3.
Stunning.
He's been terrible. I mean, he's this
Teams
close to
are hitting
losing
over
his job.
300 against him.
Yeah.
But couldn't you argue that Perez and Witt are the second and third best players if you look at the Guardians and you look at the Royals?
I wouldn't say that. I would say
would you?
I would say between Naylor and Ramirez and Perez and Witt, It's really close.
It's close.
It's
I mean,
really close.
If you're telling me you're starting a team from scratch, I'm going to take Bobby Witt first.
Well,
'cause
for
he's
the
young.
age, sure.
Right, but
Perez is old.
Perez is old.
And both
right.
Naylor's young, relatively speaking. Ramirez
Right.
is in the middle
Right.
of his career.
It's close.
I would take Naylor
close.
and Ramirez.
I
I would.
It's close.
I really like Witt.
Oh, my God, I love Witt.
like this
Witt's
dude is
fantastic,
like,
and Salvador Perez is. I think he's on his way to the Hall of Fame.
I'll have
right?
what he's having,
Yeah,
by the way.
Well, they've been smart this year.
I can't believe what he's doing,
Cheers.
Paul.
You know what's smart, though, Jay?
What are you saying, Jay?
What I'm saying is I did not expect him to have this kind
And
of year.
how old is he?
34?
He's 34. Just turned 34. For
You know
anyone
what
who
they've
doesn't
done
know.
this year? They're DHing him a ton, which is
I know they are,
smart.
to save his career, which is smart.
Because he's their second best or second best hitter.
His numbers, by the way. So he's a 34-year-old
Numbers are
with
sick.
And last
a
year,
million games catching. But hold on.
yeah, go ahead.
He's hitting 310 with 10 homers and 41 RBIs. He has an OPS just shy of 900. He's
As a-
slugging
as a
511.
catcher.
As a catcher,
As
yeah.
a
I mean-
34-year-old catcher who's been through literally over 1,000 games behind the plate.
Is
By
he
that
the
point,
last piece to the Royals World Series?
He is.
Yeah.
He is. It
'Cause
feels
Green-
like it.
Green-
And by
was the
all
other
accounts,
guy.
a great leader, a great locker
Oh,
room guy,
a great
good with
guy.
the young players. A big thing for them also at the top of their lineup is Vinny Pasquantino, who's like their
Yes.
first baseman, plays a little
Spark
DH
plug.
also. He's got like 40-something ribbies. I mean, he missed almost the whole season last year, so having him up there,
Big.
Bobby Witt's obviously a superstar. It's a good team. I don't
Yeah.
think they're going to completely fall apart. I think they'll
I don't
be
think
in
they'll
the
fall
mix.
apart, but I do
No.
think they're going to hit a stretch where they come well, they were 4-6 in the 10 games
Right.
coming into this series.
Yeah, yeah.
A little bit of back to now. If they would have somehow been able to sweep those two games, now you're looking at a 4-8 stretch.
Sure.
And I think they're capable of that. I think the Guardians, that could
Yeah,
happen to the Guardians
there's
too.
no doubt.
But after judging the two teams to this point in the season, I still favor the Guardians to
I
win the
do,
division. I think they have the better team. I think they have issues that they've got to address. Clearly,
Yeah.
the starting pitching's just got to go deeper into games. This
Yeah,
is
I mean,
becoming a real problem.
Tanner Bybee, the issue with him is he seems to have a lot of these innings where it's like, okay, I think he's going to be out. He gets 2 outs. I think he's going to be out of the inning in 9-10 pitches, and all of a sudden ends up a 19-pitch inning.
You're right.
And it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it adds up, and it costs you 2 innings a game.
Do you think it's
That's gonna-
focus?
I think sometimes with young pitchers, and you could speak to this, Jay, you get so fascinated with the strikeout, so obsessed with the strikeout, you want to close it out with a strikeout. Sometimes it's, especially when you got a defense, I know it wasn't yesterday, but generally, as excellent as the Guardians' defense is, it's okay to let them put the ball in play and make
Throw
big
to contact, yeah.
And I think sometimes with young pitchers that are as talented as Bybee, sometimes you get in that mode where I want to strike him out, and then you end up throwing too many pitches. And that's something I think he'll be able to get over, but they need it because nobody else in this rotation could go deep right now.
No.
I heard somebody say the craziest thing. I'm not going to call him out by name. I texted him personally when I heard him say this. Somebody who talks sports in Cleveland yesterday said, if they could only get more from Ben Lively, that would be. I'm like, more from Ben Lively?
You can argue Ben Lively's been their most valuable pitcher.
I mean, yes.
because of what you were expecting to get from him and
Yeah.
what he's given you.
Ben Lively, you look at what you expected and what you've got. The only player, I guess, higher than Ben Lively is David Fry.
That's it. That's it.
Those have been the 2 biggest shocking players. Ask Ben Lively to give you more. It's a miracle what he's giving you.
You know what they need? And I firmly believe this. To
Yeah.
make sure they do win the division, they need Ben Lively first 60 games to be the same Ben Lively the next 100.
I mean, that would be amazing.
If they get this out of him for the season,
Yeah.
then it makes the Bieber loss that less impactful. And you're getting something from a guy. It's like Carlos Carrasco. He was a feel-good story. Bring
Right.
him in. Maybe he wins a roster spot out of the bullpen.
Right.
Bieber goes down. Well, suddenly he's your 5th starter. He's been okay. He hasn't been awful. He hasn't been great.
No.
But he's given us more than we expected, from what I expected anyhow,
I
when he was
expected him to be
initially
terrible,
invited.
and he's been serviceable.
He's been serviceable.
Yeah.
Ben Lively, I expected him to be serviceable. He's been above average.
He's been tremendous.
So-
To ask more.
I don't know how you get
Just
more out of him.
asking, even asking for what he's done so far the rest of the year, I think there's a lot to ask.
I feel greedy doing that.
I
Paul.
know. I mean, that would be amazing. I can't ask him to do more.
He has a 2.84 ERA.
It's
unreal.
absurd.
2.84. I mean, he's in
That's
the top 10
absurd.
of Major League Baseball.
I know.
among qualified starting pitchers in earned run average.
How many folks had him top 10 projected coming in?
I wouldn't have had him top 100.
I wouldn't have either. I wouldn't
Come
have
on.
either.
He's been great.
And you're right. I like the comparison. He is to pitching what David Fry is to the hitting and
100%.
defense.
Those guys have been. Those are the only two guys on this team you could say are overachieving.
You're right.
Everybody else is doing what I expected or worse. Some guys, not that many. Not many worse.
Although he missed a lot of time, Quan's been a tad better than I hoped he would be.
Yeah.
Naylor to start the season was
Right.
a tad better than I
But
hoped.
at this point now,
But-
it's evened out.
Well, my theory is he's swinging too hard. He looks like he's going to put himself in traction with every single swing of the bat.
We're going to get to that in the TV show, Jay. Let's not.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll just say one thing. He looks terrible at the plate right now.
He's
I think
lost.
he'll be fine, but he looks terrible
I do
right
too.
now.
Let me
He's
ask you guys
lost.
a question, though, real quick before we move on.
Yeah.
So it was a 1-1 split. We talked about the difference, the gap between Kansas City, or between Cleveland and Kansas City. You always gave your thoughts on
Right.
that. But overall, and I know it's 2 games and it's a 1-1 split, and both games were close. Obviously, the Guardians won game 1 by 3. They lost game 3 technically by 1. Did you take any? Is there one big takeaway, one big thing you learned from this series, facing the Royals, for the first time, that may be something we could watch for the next time these two teams match up?
They're a solid team. They're a really, really solid team. I hadn't seen them much. I saw them a few times. Hadn't seen them much. It's the first time we'd seen them. The Guardians.
against the Guardians.
And so after they went 4-6, now they did walk off that last win. They were in danger of coming into Cleveland with a 3-7 stretch in their previous 10. They walked off their last game in San Diego. They came here, and I think that I'm not going to bury them. I'm not going to kick dirt on them. I'll tell you what my big takeaway is over the last couple of weeks is that the AFC Central is...
You just said the AFC
MLB.
Central.
You know why I did that? The American League Central is equivalent to the AFC North.
Yeah.
You've got 4 teams in this division that are 500 or better.
Yeah.
Now, Chicago is such a doormat, and we all get to beat up on them.
Well, this is the best this division's been in a while.
It is competitive.
Yeah.
Really competitive.
Right.
First of all, you've got a top 3 team in Major League Baseball in the Guardians.
Yep.
And then you've got 3 other teams that are 500 or better.
Right.
That's tougher than
think-
I expected this division to be.
I think there's only 10 teams over 500 in all of baseball. So
4 of them are...
4 of the top 11 records or 12 records are in the AFC.
crazy.
Get up, Pat.
Now I'm about to say the AFC Central.
G, real quick, Get Up had a graphic this morning. 4 teams in the AL Central, plus 500. 4 teams in the entire National League, plus 500.
Yeah, technically, Detroit's not plus 500.
Well, yeah, I mean,
They're
Well, it was 500 or better.
500 or better.
Right
so
now-
the National League, the entire National League has 4 teams
4
that are
teams,
above
as many as
500?
the
Cubs
AL
are
Central.
right now. The Cubs are the second wild card. They're at 500.
Oh, my God.
I
Now
learned. and
they
look-
have almost every team in the NL is within like 2-3 games of 500, except for a few. But
so it's a log jam.
there's a lot of
around
teams
500.
around 500.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Guardians were good. They're not head and shoulders above better than the Twins or head and shoulders
true.
better than the Royals. And like I said, I expect them to win the division. It just comes to a point where you're going to say, okay, can you compete with the Orioles or the Yankees? Can you get some pitching? Can you get guys to the 6th inning? And I said it, Jose Ramirez is not going to cover off the ball. You need 2 more guys. You need Naylor, who started off hot and is not doing anything right now. And you need Jimenez. You need a couple of guys to be with him when you're looking at the bats in the order. If they can get Naylor, he's the linchpin. If they can get him, they can compete. But it's going to be a
He did hit a
struggle.
ball yesterday on the screws. The center fielder made a great
Made
play
the
on
catch.
it, sliding catch
Yeah.
in left center. He hit a home run the other night, smoked the ball. I see signs of it, but in general, I see a guy who's trying too hard, and I'm wondering if Bo isn't rubbing off on Josh. Bo is almost unserviceable.
Yeah, I mean-
he's to the point.
Well, he's
where
playing for his defense right now because his pitch framing's been great.
I get that, but when
Yeah,
you've
but-
got a guy in Fry that's
know.
doing what he's doing,
Well, it'd be interesting to see if Naylor ends up on the IL after what happened yesterday.
yeah, it will.
Boy,
be.
You know, I had said a couple, like 2 weeks ago, maybe they should send Naylor down for like a week or two,
I think they
just for a
should.
refresh.
Yeah, I think
and
they
maybe a trip to the IL if he's hurt. I don't know. Maybe that'll
His pitch
refresh him,
framing
but-
yesterday, they called 2 or 3 guys out.
Yeah.
And these pitches were
Yeah.
demonstrably
Well, we talked about that
outside
earlier
of the
in the week.
the
Were you here
zone.
Monday when I
No.
brought that up? So
No.
there's the stat pitches won by catchers.
I saw that. It's huge.
I mean, you now that I've pointed it out, I'm having people
Look for it, right?
reach out to me saying they just got another one.
Yep.
They just got another one.
Yep.
And they're getting them in key spots. It's Stephen Vogt. I mean, he has impressed on these guys the
No
importance
doubt.
of pitch framing. And the team that's number 2 in that stat is a team that Vogt was with last year. Clearly had an impact on them as
Yeah.
well. And I think you're going to see that a lot more teams,
Right.
now that that's a stat that people are tracking, I think
Yeah.
you're going to see a lot more teams pay attention to and prioritize pitch framing because you get 1 or 2 of those in a key spot in every game.
Yeah.
We know what
Right.
I mean. Leverage pitches.
Yeah. Hey, listen, the bottom line with the Guardians, they remain a good baseball team. The Orioles and Yankees are better. They're clearly better.
They are.
The Guardians are going to have to make some moves to be able to compete, I think, with those teams in the playoffs. I'm not really worried about anybody else. The Guardians are as good, if not better, than every other team in the American League. The Orioles and Yankees, who interestingly both have a new member of their coaching staff who have come from Cleveland.
Yes, exactly.
Including the Yankees pitching coach. And look at I mean the Yankees pitching without Garrett Cole has
Unbelievable.
been like this. Luis Heel is going to win Rookie of the Year. He's been unbelievable.
I can't believe what Yankees pitching has been.
I thought their pitching when Cole was down, I was like, their pitching is not going to be any good. I was completely wrong. Their pitching's been great. And their closer has right there with Clase has been like the second best closer in baseball. I think he's only given up 1 run all year.
It's insane.
So but I don't think the Yankees are that the Guardians are that far off. They're going to have to be aggressive. They got to get a pitcher,
add at the
and they
deadline.
got to add. I want them to get a shortstop, and I want to get a starting pitcher.
All right.
We're going to take a break real quick, talk a little Browns, and something just came out that I want to bring up in a sec. But first, a word from eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. We'll get to our AFC North defensive draft in a sec, but this just came out a few minutes ago, guys. The NFL finalized its preseason schedule. And something about the Browns sticks out.
It was already set.
The times, the actual times of games. So we knew the Browns were going to play Green Bay, Minnesota, and Seattle, but this is the order and the times of kickoff. They play Green Bay at home on August 10th at 4:25. They play Minnesota at home the following week on August 18th at 4:25. Then they wrap up the preseason on August 24th in Seattle with a 10 p.m. kickoff.
Oh, wow.
If there was any thoughts, and boy, I know you laughed, but the
10
reason I'm
p.m.
saying
Eastern, obviously.
if there was any thoughts of any starters playing whatsoever in week 3, I think it's out the window now.
Well, now, isn't there 2 weeks now between the end of the preseason and the start of the regular
yes.
season?
I don't think it matters, though. I still think there's
Well,
no chance to start
it would matter a lot more, and they wouldn't do this, if there was only 1 game rest. Because you're basically stealing a day. And because there's 2 weeks rest, I think that's a non-factor.
10 p.m.
But that doesn't
Eastern?
make sense.
That
Why are
is
you playing a
bizarre.
night preseason game to wrap up on the West Coast?
I'm going
Yeah,
to,
on the West Coast. That makes no sense.
I'm going to say something that is quite controversial.
Oh, boy.
I wouldn't play a starter 1 second in any preseason game.
Nobody?
Nobody.
Not a single player.
Not a
Yeah,
single
man,
player
I
is
disagree
playing.
with that.
And I used to be the exact opposite. Nobody's playing. You got 2 weeks. I'd use preseason. The way the Browns got banged up last year, and the way the Browns got injured, and everybody was down to guys off the street. I'm not playing nobody. No one is playing.
Yeah.
And then we'll figure it out. Like you got 2 weeks. You got 2 weeks to ramp it up before the season starts. I'm not playing none of you, especially John Watson, Chubb, none of them. No,
Oh, certainly not Chubb. Chubb
is not seeing nothing.
No.
Mari Cooper not seeing anything. If you're a veteran, you've been in it more than 4 or 5 years. This is gonna be the JVs. JVs on a Tuesday night. Down at Don Scott
I
Field.
think they'll play a little in the first game, a lot in the second game, outside of Nick Chubb.
And none
that's
in the
it.
third.
That's
Yeah.
what I think they're going to do. And all teams are doing that for the most part.
That's the new
Yeah.
trend, and we have seen that teams are starting to use those first couple games almost as the
Yeah.
preseason runway.
I'll be curious.
Which I don't love.
I think the question is whether Watson will play. There's no way Nick Chubb's playing the preseason. He doesn't need to.
Oh,
I don't even know that he'll be cleared.
Yeah, we don't know if he's ready, but
For me, Deshaun Watson he wouldn't even be in jerseys. Listen, it ain't about no preseason. It's about what he do in the regular season. That's what it's about.
That's right.
I cannot afford I don't need no ankle sprains, no wrist sprains, nothing. He gonna get hey, get ready, big
what
fella.
is he, Anthony?
Yes.
Anthony
yes.
got hurt.
Yeah, I need more clarification on that story.
So, by the way,
What the hell was he doing yesterday?
So first of all, this started. We played a game. What was the name of the game again, Mike? That we played on the air yesterday.
What's more likely?
What's more likely? Right?
Okay.
And the question was, it was a bunch of sports ones, but one of the last ones was, what's more likely, me getting ejected from a Little League game or Anthony going a month without getting hurt? Because he's gotten hurt twice sleeping.
What the hell's wrong with this
And then,
guy?
so he's gotten hurt twice in the last 2 months sleeping. And then yesterday, apparently he hurt himself at the baseball game because he used one of his wrists too much. I mean, you'd think
Wait
he
a minute,
was
pause?
6. Yes.
What the hell's going on?
I don't know.
Anthony, are you here?
Yo, what's up? I sprained my wrist 3 weeks ago, and it still hasn't healed.
He was,
Oh, so-
he was driving home and he sprained it.
Oh, okay. You didn't give us that background, Mike.
So this didn't happen
I sprained it
yesterday
3
at the
weeks
game.
ago. What was that, Jay?
So this injury did not happen yesterday at the game.
No, I think I re-aggravated it, though. I didn't
So
have my brace on
He
yesterday.
re-aggravated it holding his cup of soda.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I've heard of 12-ounce curls. Dude, but I don't know what's going on. We
Yeah.
need to put this guy in the bubble.
Oh, my gosh.
John Travolta.
By the way, we met a crazy amount of fans yesterday. Like, everybody was coming up.
It's funny when you go
It
to a
was
sporting
so-
event.
Oh, my God.
And the clientele is all sports-based.
Yeah, right.
What the reaction is.
Real quick, just because I'm looking at the full schedule here,
Yeah.
the Browns are the only team. There's only 2 10 o'clock games in the final week. It is San Francisco, Vegas, and Cleveland at Seattle.
And see, San Francisco, Vegas is okay.
Makes
'cause they're
perfect
both
sense.
West
They're
Coast
both
teams.
what? Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It's just, it doesn't.
It just seems stupid. Like, why? Well, I don't
Who
understand
cares?
why.
It's the preseason.
Yeah, and there's 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
If-
I'm not making a big deal of it. I'm just saying it.
No, I
It
get it.
seems kind of stupid.
No, it is stupid. There's no reason for it. You can play that game at any other time. Don't need to play it at 10 o'clock. They want a night game, let them play their other home game in preseason at night. But the last one, and then it's an East Coast or an East time zone team, and you're going to send them back, that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, it's stupid. All right, let's get to our real Browns topic of the day, the one we were going to do after a quick reminder that G. Bush is doing the Ultimate Brown Show tonight at 5 o'clock. Tune in. G. Bush already told us what it's about. His headlines are electric. If you're not bought in by the headline, you are missing out. So make sure you turn into G. Bush at 5 o'clock on our YouTube page. All right, guys, we're going to draft an All-AFC North defense. And let me set this up. I saw
my
a
sheet.
tweet over the weekend, and Bull has his cheat sheet, and we're going to have some fun with this. And I want to make sure I get this handle right because he's a good follow. I'll give it to you at the end. I'll have to find the handle. But essentially, he said the Browns' defense is so stacked that only 3 non-Browns would start on an All-AFC North defense.
That's ludicrous.
Wait, who said that?
Is Earl typing this up?
It wasn't Earl. I'll get it one second.
Is that Nick Carnes?
It is. It's Dominique Lee at Datmandomo, who, by the way, is an awesome Twitter follow. He's a crazy fan in the best way. He throws out fake trades.
Love
Pure
it.
Cleveland. He's really an enjoyable Twitter follow. Like, he really is.
Yeah.
So he tweeted out that 8 Browns would start an All-AFC North defense, and I said, all right, well, let's run through it ourselves. Let's see if we come to the same conclusion or not. So we would set this up. We have 4 defensive linemen, 2 edge
Mike, I got
rushers.
5. We got to do 5.
Well, you can explain that when you
Come
get there. I'm
on.
saying how I set it up, not how you changed the rules to make what you wanted
True,
to fit.
I did change the rules. Yeah.
I had 2 defensive ends, edge rushers, 2 defensive tackles. We'll go with 3 linebackers, 3 corners, and 2 safeties. So it's actually a 12-man defensive unit because I didn't know if we would play a 4-2-5 or a 4-3-4.
Right. So you got a
So we added a slot cornerback just
All right,
so there's
Mike.
actually 12.
Because you also could do that at line and linebacker.
I'll play your rules, and I will take out one of my guys. That I
No,
have.
we can discuss how you have. 'Cause
Okay,
I think
fine.
the third one you're going to
See,
mention.
now what
is
I
a
read,
discussion.
and maybe I misread it, I read how I didn't read make an all-star team. I just read how many Browns would be starters out of
Yeah.
the AFC North.
I sent that, and then if you go back and read your text, Jay, I said we'll
It's
make
fine.
the defense position by position. So we're going to do this position by
Let's
position.
do it.
because-
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I just went for. I've got a list of Brown starters. That's all I did.
Perfect. Well, we'll start, and I think we'll start with the edges, the pass rush.
How many do we each have, by the way?
Yeah,
I have 4.
Let's start with that, then we'll discuss.
Yeah,
who
Okay.
would
Yeah,
win.
I have 4
got
starters.
I got 3 Browns.
Oh, only 3.
Yeah.
I got 3.
Okay. Huh.
I think you could argue up to 6 if you want. And
Yeah,
I think 3's the basement. Like, it's a minimum of 3. I think you could make a case for up to 6.
3 of these were easy for me.
I agree. So
The
we'll
other
get to
one, I
those.
was like, you know what? Yeah. Yeah.
So let's start with our first edge rusher. It's a no-brainer. It's Myles Garrett, right?
Right.
He's the MVP.
Okay. So, Ant, if you want to put Myles Garrett down as our first edge rusher,
Yeah.
the first Brown on the board. Let's go to the second edge rusher.
That's what.
I mean, I put Watt there too because
Yeah, I mean,
now, I know you
I
could slot him
listed
as a
Watt in a
linebacker.
separate category because he's a
is a-
rush linebacker.
He's kind of a
technically.
unicorn.
But if we're combining it to one position, then yes, of course it's Watt.
And, Bull, just for the sake of it, how
And by the way,
close-
those might be the 2 best edge rushers in
Yeah,
the NFL.
I put Trey Hendrickson as my second edge rusher, and I put Watt as my rushing linebacker, my 13th guy. But
How
whatever.
close was the Watt-Hendrickson debate in your
No,
mind?
Watt's better than Hendrickson.
Yeah, I thought so too.
It's not that. I mean,
It's
Hendrickson's
clear.
Hendrickson's a very good player, but Watt and Myles Garrett are like Hall of Fame level.
they're
Whereas
elite.
Trey Hendrickson's like that next. He's like Pro Bowl level, but not Hall of Fame level.
Yeah.
Would
I
you all
agree.
agree Hendrickson is third if you were adding a third?
I
edge rusher?
would
Without a
absolutely
doubt.
have him third.
Who the hell would be third? Who
I would
else
absolutely
would be
have
third?
him slam dunk third.
Yeah, that's.
Who else would be third?
There's no argument for Zadarius Smith.
No,
No,
stop it.
no way.
Okay, I'm asking questions.
Trey Hendrickson
Don't-
had like 17 sacks
Yeah.
last year.
Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just
All right.
asking questions. All right, let's
Fair.
move to defensive tackles. Who would be your first defensive tackle on an all-AFC North
Hayward.
defense?
Cam Hayward.
Yeah, and that's the one guy that I think is
Yeah, the
unanimous.
second one is
the
probably-
other one. I looked. God, you could probably name 3 or 4 guys, but none of the Browns. I don't have.
And BK is my second.
And that's who
defense.
Mike's got.
Yep.
I put another Raven, Michael Pierce.
Yeah, you go either way. I think you could go either way there. Both are going to get a lot of votes.
Who'd you go
Pierce,
with,
or-
Mike? You
I went Matabike.
Yeah, Matabike.
I
All right,
went
fine.
Matabike.
That's fine. Pierce had a really good year last year, too.
He had a nice year. I put Man BK because of his sack totals. That's kind of crazy.
That's fair.
He got
Yep.
when you
That's
get-
the glory stat.
Yep. All right, so there we got our interior.
Matabike's
It just depends on what
Defensive
you're
lineman.
looking for too from your interior line.
Yeah,
I mean, if you want run stop,
if you said, "Hey, give me a 3 technique and a nose tackle," it would change because obviously those are 2. Hayward is a 3 technique. He's not a nose tackle.
right? So who else? Now we're going linebacker, right?
Yeah, so just to recap, Matabike, Hayward, Myles, Watt, and then Hendrickson would be the third edge rusher if
Damn,
we were
that's a
making
hell of a
all
squad.
AFC.
Oh, that's
North
crazy.
defense.
That is a
That
hell of a
defensive line's
squad.
filthy.
That's crazy.
And it fits together pretty well, too, if
That's
I'm being
crazy.
totally honest.
Yeah, no, it does. They complement one another. I think it's a great.
Can you
That
imagine?
speaks to the strength of this division.
All right, so going to linebackers. And I didn't specify strong side, weak side, middle. I just gave you 3 linebackers.
Right.
Yeah.
Who are your 3 linebackers? Let's start with the first. Who's the number
Roquan
1?
Smith.
Yes,
Yeah. I got
and I think he's the best linebacker in the group.
Yes.
Yeah, I got Roquan Smith, JOK, and then to me
Yep.
the third was between Patrick Queen and Logan Wilson.
I have Patrick Queen second and JOK third.
Okay.
So we're close.
I think Logan Wilson might be better than Patrick Queen.
I think Patrick Queen was maybe a little better last year, but I think Logan Wilson's been consistently better than Patrick Queen.
And he had Roquan Smith.
Well, so do you leave JOK off then?
Oh no,
I wouldn't. I would.
Oh, no.
I had JOK too.
Oh yeah, JOK
Behind
to me
Roquan Smith for
is
me.
He's behind Roquan Smith to me.
And then I had Logan Wilson third, and then Patrick Queen fourth.
So we
I
have
thought-
Roquan 1, JOK 2, then we could debate either
Yeah.
Queen or Logan Smith.
But
Logan
Queen
Wilson.
and
For
and
me,
Wilson
it's
is-
Queen.
Mike?
they're interchangeable to me.
What do you got?
I'll be honest. I feel like Queen had a better season last year.
did.
And if we're
Did.
splitting hairs, I'll go Queen just based off
Okay, that's fine.
recency bias.
Right.
But I do think they're pretty close, and I do think these are the 3 right linebackers. if
Well,
you're putting
listen, this
together
is
a
all
linebacker
about
group.
recency bias for me.
Yeah, sure.
JOK's not on my
stumped
team
the year
based on
before,
anything
yeah.
he did before last year.
Yeah, right.
No, that's fair enough. And that's what I'm saying. I just give the edge to Queen over Logan Wilson.
Yep.
Okay, very
And
good.
now the defensive backs, which is where I think they're the most argument to be made for a couple different
Yeah.
players.
The only argument to me is at the second corner, the second outside corner. But all right, go ahead.
Who would you put as your DB, as your cornerback, CB1, Jay?
I have Emerson and Ward on the squad, and so I'm guessing you left Emerson off.
Yeah. I got Ward and Marlon Humphrey.
And G, who are your first two?
Humphrey and Ward.
So Humphrey and Ward.
So
Now,
that's
Humphrey's
who
been
it's gonna
hurt a
be
lot
then.
the last couple of years.
That's
but-
what and
which is fair.
And for me, that's
That's fair.
what weighed in. I put plus. I just think that Martin Emerson has more to give than what we've seen. I do. I think there's times we think he's elite, and then there's other times where I watch him and I'm like, wow, what was he
Yeah.
doing on that play?
I just know that when Marlon Humphrey's healthy, he's definitely great,
and-
but he hasn't been healthy a
I
lot.
agree with you.
So-
getting up there in age and you got to be available. You got to be healthy.
Right, that's fair.
And that's why for me,
Yeah.
I went with Martin Emerson, and I figured, by the way, that I would be the only one that had.
What about
Emerson
you, Mike?
On my team.
I still got Emerson at the slot.
Oh, I don't.
Well, I do.
Okay.
Does he have to play slot? Or you
See,
just
that's the
said,
thing.
or
I
are
mean,
you
are
taking
you
the
going
best
with-
three corners?
I think you got to go. I picked Mike Hilton for the slot corner. I mean, he's
Yeah,
consistently
he's very
been
good. He is very
And
good.
he, Emerson doesn't play slot corner, so I don't know. What do you got, Mike?
I feel like for this, we probably should take a slot guy for the slot because they are specified. Like
Yeah.
Greg
Yeah, no,
Newsome's
they
the
are.
Brown slot. Mike Hilton is the Bengals slot.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure who played
But
slot
look,
for the
like, what if
Rams.
you're going to play nickel? What if you're going to go with 5 DBs?
Well, we're making 5 DBs.
Okay, so why does it have to be 2 outside and 1 slot?
Well,
To me,
do you wanna
the
just do 3
outside
corners?
guys would be good enough to play slot.
If you do,
I just wouldn't want a slot guy going outside.
if you do receivers, no one says, "Hey, you got to be a slot receiver."
Right, but
No,
Mike,
you're right. Yeah, you're right.
right,
No,
but
you're
Mike
like-
Hilton does things in the run game that and Martin Emerson. We don't even know if Martin Emerson could do. That's
Well,
what.
yeah.
It's up to you guys. You can vote either way you want.
Mm.
But would you take it just in a vacuum, Hilton over Emerson? Sorry, I asked you right as you were chugging.
If I were starting a team from scratch, I would take Emerson because he's significantly younger.
But
If
right
it were
now.
just for this year, I would take Mike Hilton.
Jay,
I got Emerson. You know where I am.
Yep.
G, you're the tiebreaker.
It's very close. I would go with Emerson just based on the fact that I'm going by. All right, what's the best 3 corners?
So you do have 4 then on your team.
It was 3 and a possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if I got beat out with Hilton, I wouldn't be mad at that.
Yeah, I think
ain't
we
mad
are
at that.
splitting hairs.
Yeah,
I ain't mad at that.
And you know what?
I'm
It almost does too depend on the situation. Like, who are you playing?
There's been none of us have picked anybody that was completely out of left field on any of these. Like the last
No.
arguments have all been kind of close.
You guys
And
all
I don't-
had the same 4 guys. It's just a matter of 3 making
Yeah,
and 1
yeah.
guy's looking.
You're
at.
right,
All right, your
yeah.
2 safeties.
I got Kyle Hamilton and Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yep,
I think that's really, I don't know who you're going to
I
make an
can't
argument for. on
imagine
number
any other
3.
way.
that's it.
All right, so that rounds it up. Let's count how many Browns we ended up with.
4.
It's 4. So, guys, you could have made an argument for that didn't get discussed.
Yeah.
And once again, I'm just going to say, if you want to, I'm not saying it's the right argument. I'm saying you could make an argument. Newsome, if we were going straight slot, even though I think Hilton's a better slot corner.
Hilton is a better slot corner.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm just
Okay,
saying
yeah.
you could make an argument.
I mean,
I can't make an argument for Delpit.
Thornhill, no. Delpit, no. The interior part of the line, no. The other linebackers, no.
No.
I couldn't make it. To me,
You
it was
can't make an argument for Zadarius Smith. There's no,
no way.
argument for him.
No way.
I
There's
mean,
I
just
was
too
gonna
much
say-
talent at that
Yeah,
position
yeah.
here.
I was going to say you could try and make an argument for Delpit, but once again, he's not on the same page as Minka or Kyle.
No.
So
No, I don't think so
your
at
argument
all.
falls short. I'm just saying, guys, you could try and make an argument for it.
I think, maybe Newsome you can make an argument for. Maybe I think that's about it. Now, if you were making a second team, yeah, Newsome
Sure.
would be in
Newsome
there.
would be on my second team.
You probably Delpit would
Maybe
be in
Smith,
there. Maybe
maybe.
Zadarius Smith.
Yeah.
You'd have some
Dalvin
other
Tomlinson
guys.
would
But
be on the second team probably.
who?
Dalvin
Possibly.
Tomlinson.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument for him for sure.
He might be the 4th best defensive tackle in the AFC North.
Yeah,
Maybe.
The Browns the Browns. A lot of what they do is scheme based. You'll see people. I wouldn't be surprised that you'll see people for the Browns that play well in the Brown system that go to other teams and be like, "Hey, what happened to this guy? I thought he was going to get all these sacks and pressures." You're like, "Nah, that was just Jim Shorts."
Yeah,
I
well-
feel like there's a lot of that, that you'll see in a couple years.
Well, that'd be nice to see that the other way around. It's been the other way around.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
We have guys and we're getting minimal production. We release them, and all of a sudden they just blossom into
Right,
these great
yeah.
players.
Yeah. What
So to
was that
recap,
at?
our
Yeah.
all AFC North defense, our defensive line, is stacked. Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt off the edge.
That's the best that any conference can put together, I think. I mean, the AFC
AFC West,
NFC East,
NFC East,
the AFC West could have.
But look at this. I mean, you've got 1 and 2 in your MVP vote.
I'm just saying I'm just saying making the case. The AFC West would have Chris Jones, Christian Wilkins, Max Crosby, and either Bosa or Khalil Mack.
By the way,
that's tough.
Man, that is a good one, Mike.
That's a good one. Yeah.
If we're doing the thing where you could put vote for Greg Newsome in the slot, then I'm taking out Matabike and putting Trey Hendrickson on that line instead.
I wouldn't be
Yeah,
mad
because
at that.
if it was a pure Pro Bowl team, that's what they would do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad at that at all. Matter of fact, I would co-sign that move.
Here's my question, though. I'm going to run through the rest
Or
of the
you
defense.
could put T.J. Watt at linebacker.
Right.
And fit them all
And
in.
take out Patrick
And
Queen.
take out Patrick Queen.
Yeah.
So
or
once again,
Logan
the
Wilson,
defensive line, Myles, Watt, Hayward, and Matabike.
Wow.
Our linebackers were Roquan Smith, JOK, and Patrick Queen. And then in the secondary, we had Denzel Ward, Marlon Humphrey, MJ Emerson, Minka Fitzpatrick, and Kyle Hamilton. In a world where this was a real defense, are they allowing more than 10 points a game over a full season?
No.
Probably not.
That's an all-time elite defense.
You can't run the ball or throw the ball.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Let's do this.
Let's do the offense.
Let's call that list back up and who are projecting as Hall of Famers right now.
Oh, Hall of Famers?
Yeah, I think on the front
ahead,
line you've
show
got
it, Mike.
2 that are projecting as Hall of Famers.
I think 3.
No, 3.
Cam Hayward could
is
be
a
a Hall of
Famer.
Famer. Yeah, I mean, that's
so
3
you've
there.
got 3 of the 4.
Matabike
that are-
is too early in his career.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to project him now, but the other 3 are going. Or they're at least
Linebackers?
I don't know.
projecting.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's hard for linebackers.
I don't know that any of these guys are Hall of Famers.
I would pass on that.
on the linebackers?
Yeah.
No, I don't
I
either.
mean, Roquan Smith's the best. I don't think he's on
he's
a
not
Hall.
Yeah,
transcendent.
no.
And in these corners and DBs, Hamilton
I don't know
too
that-
early.
Humphrey's had
Yeah.
a great career. Minka Fitzpatrick's had a great career.
These are really good players, right?
Yeah.
These
Yeah,
are
yeah,
good-
yeah.
Even
it's not
Denzel is not on a Hall of Fame track.
But
no.
you've got 3 on the front line.
Yeah.
They're
I
going
think
to get
Kyle,
gold jackets.
Of this group, if you had to say right now who will wear a gold jacket, I put my money on Kyle Hamilton out of this.
I like his
particular
chances.
Again, it's hard. I mean, how
It
many
is hard.
safeties get in the Hall of Fame?
It's not.
No,
yeah,
I'm just saying
Yeah.
of this 5, if I had to
Like,
put money on one guy.
when
I
they-
mean, you got to be transcendent.
Yeah, right.
when you say like, oh, who in your position group is in the Hall of Fame ahead of you? You like Ed Reed and Ronnie Lott.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to do some things. Troy Polamalu.
John Lynch got in, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he was probably one of the greatest defenses of all time. Of
was.
course, like so it's tough. Like it's weird now because now as we get older, you start to see these people because you remember when they got drafted, and then you watch them their whole career in college, and then they got drafted, and now they're retired, and then some of them going to Hall of Fame. It's strange. It's weird, bro. You can date yourself by it's.
You know when I've decided that I was officially old was that when most major leaguers were younger than I was.
Yeah.
For me, that's when I'm like, damn, I'm old.
Man,
Like I'm older than most big league players.
I'm older than
Wait
LeBron.
till you're older than everybody.
I'm like LeBron is still playing there. Like, oh, LeBron's the old man, and I'm like, dang, I remember when he got drafted, bro.
Remember
I'm
when he
old.
was on the cover of Sports Illustrated in high school?
Like that's nuts. Yeah. It's hard, man. It's just
Here are the safeties that are in the Hall of Fame that started their careers in the last 30 years
Ed Reed,
or 30 years or so.
John Lynch,
John Lynch, Troy Polamalu,
Polamalu.
Ed Reed.
God, that can't be all.
Rod Woodson.
but he played corner too.
Kenny Houston goes way back.
That's it. Then I got to go back. The next one I go back to is Donnie Shell from the Steelers.
That's crazy.
God, that's
I
unbelievable.
mean,
you
God,
gotta
there's
be.
none of those guys are going.
Yeah, I
you
mean-
have to be transcendent.
It's crazy.
You have to be Troy Polamalu.
There's only 36 defensive backs all time in the Hall of Fame. That's it in the history of football.
Even with
so 3
linebackers.
safeties in the last 30 years, and
yeah,
2 of them are in our division.
I mean,
Ed Reed and Polamalu.
right. The
And
only
Woodson used to be in
the only guys that have played this here are the defensive backs that have played that are in the Hall of Fame. Defensive backs
Hold
that
on.
have played this century.
So, we missed Charles Woodson, right?
Yeah, he's listed as a corner.
Yeah, he is a corner.
Yeah,
Charles
yeah.
is a corner.
Here's defensive backs
Was.
that made the Hall of Fame that played in this century. 1, Champ Bailey. 2, Brian Dawkins. Oh, I left him out.
Okay.
That's 2. 3, Darryl Green. His career ended in 2002.
I mean,
Man, he was fast.
4
Still is.
Ty Law, 5 John Lynch, 6 Palomalu, 7 Ed Reed, 8 Deion Sanders, 9 Aeneas Williams,
Wow, I forgot about
10 Charles Woodson, and 11 Rod Woodson. So only 11 defensive back, period, that have played in the last 25 years.
That's crazy.
in the NFL.
that. And we
It's
are
been a passing league,
Yeah.
too.
and we are coming to the end of the linebacker run.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like we're at the end of the linebacker.
You got who'd you get? You got
Urlacher.
Thomas,
Ray Lewis.
Derek Brooks.
Ray Lewis, yeah. Yeah, it's
Okay, here's linebackers that have played in this century that are in the Hall of Fame. Derek Brooks,
Ray Lewis. Urlacher.
Ray Lewis, Urlacher, Junior Seau.
That's it.
That's the list.
4.
Derek Thomas's career ended in '99. That's the so 4 linebackers that have played this century. And who now? That's
we
playing?
missed the guy from Miami. What's his name? The linebacker that.
Oh, yeah, he's in. He just went in. He was a massive overachiever.
Zach Thomas.
Jason
Yes.
Taylor.
Yeah, no. Zach Thomas.
Zach Thomas.
Why are
Yeah,
they-
Zach Thomas.
I'm
Yep.
not seeing Zach Thomas. Maybe they haven't updated this year
No,
yet.
because he hasn't gone in yet because he officially.
will
okay.
go in, right?
So he'll be the 5th guy.
Yeah, and these guys was playing. The last guy who could even possibly like Patrick Willis, he cut his career short.
Yeah, he's
he
not going to the Hall of
retired.
Fame.
Like there ain't even no 3-down linebackers no more.
No.
So yeah,
Become specialized, but that number is incredibly low.
daunting.
Yeah, I mean, Myles Garrett and Nick Chubb are the 2 players on the Browns that are Hall of Fame mix.
Yeah. Their trajectory is
Like,
Hall of Fame.
people would say, well, what about Bitonio? Like, Bitonio's great, but what is there, 60 offensive linemen in the Hall of Fame? I mean, you can't just be great. You have to be all-time great.
Thomas. You've got to be that.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's
There are
tough.
48 offensive linemen in the Hall of Fame, and I bet you half of them played in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
And Nick Chubb still need 2 more years of
yeah, Nick
production.
Chubb's not a lock.
Yeah, although Gale Sayers went in.
Yeah.
Gale
So
Sayers has
did,
a devastating
Terrell Davis.
knee
Only
injury.
had like
Terrell
5 years.
Davis. I think at that position, because it's a high contact position and it's you're the workhorse, I think that you get a little more leniency at that position than any other.
Yes,
when it
but
comes to injuries.
But those guys, because they carried the ball so much more, put up
they
crazy
did. They were
numbers.
30 carry a game guys.
But if you look at Nick Chubb yards per carry, and I don't know how much that specific stat voters look into, he's one of the all-time greats in yards
I
per
think that's
carry.
the apples to apples stat. I
Chubb's
really
not
do.
close
Bull.
right now. If it was to end, unfortunately, he hasn't played enough.
Yeah,
No,
but now call up Gale Sayers' career
Yeah.
and compare his numbers to Gale Sayers.
Terrell Davis.
Now, granted, Gale Sayers played when they played 14 games, but Gale Sayers was all-time great for 5 years, and the injuries ran him out. Terrell Davis.
I feel like it was just a different era, and you're right. His numbers are better than Gale Sayers for his career. Gale Sayers didn't even.
You
have
know what else
5,000
we're not
yards.
factoring in?
People.
All-time fantastic quality human being.
And
that matters.
And they're
No,
gonna
I'm
because
just
the
saying,
media-
As
Yeah.
of today, let's say Nick
Yeah.
Chubb never plays another football game in his career. He's not in the top 30 in career rushing yards.
No, now you talk about different era.
He has 1 All-Pro on his resume.
You know what, though? Here's why I would say that stat is irrelevant. Read off the top 5 on that list.
Oh, it's all older. I mean, well, Frank Gore's not old, but it's Emmitt Smith,
No.
Walter Payton, Frank Gore, Barry Sanders, Adrian Peterson.
Right. So that was
Those
they
guys
all
were
played in the
compilers,
area.
a lot of them.
They all played in the era where that's how you won. That's how you won championships.
No, listen. Nick Chubb's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. He's a Hall of Fame caliber player. Right now, he doesn't have the numbers to justify being.
here-
Hall of Fame.
Well, he doesn't have he has the per carry numbers and per game numbers. Think about this, guys.
He's just below 100 yards a game, isn't
Do
he?
you know where
84.5.
Do you know where Nick Chubb ranks in yards per attempt for career?
It's like third.
amongst running backs.
It's like second or
Because
third,
there's
isn't it?
quarterbacks at the
Probably
top.
first.
No, I
First
think
or
Jim
second?
Brown has more.
He is third, not Jim Brown. No.
No.
Number 1 is Marion Motley.
No. Okay.
Averaged 5.7 yards
Isn't
per
Jamal
carry.
Charles up there too?
Jamal
Charles is up there, yes.
Number 2, 5.4. Nick Chubb 3 at 5.3, and then Jim Brown is 4th.
Here's
at
how
5.2.
here's how he gets in. The linchpin is Frank Gore. Is Frank Gore going to get in the Hall of Fame?
See, that's a tough one, too, because he did it for so long.
See, I think a better comparison is Jamal Charles.
I don't think Charles is a Hall of Famer.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't think Gore is either, to be perfectly honest.
If you end up 3 all-time on the list, right? And so if you say, all right, well, it's borderline that Frank Gore gets in, everybody would tell you that Nick Chubb is 10 times the running back.
Sure. I don't have Gore in.
Now, if you look at yards per game, career-wise, number 1 all-time, Jim Brown. Number 2, Barry Sanders.
He's the only one over 100 yards, right?
That's correct. Barry Sanders, 99.8.
Yeah, I knew he was just below it.
Number 3, Terrell Davis. Number 4, Eric Dickerson. Number 5, Walter Payton. All of those guys in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Now, number 6 is never getting in the Hall of Fame. That's Clinton Portis.
No, he's not.
I would not have guessed he was 6th all time.
Yeah, no, when he was good, though, he was very good.
Number 7 is the only active player ahead of Nick Chubb. He hasn't played that many years, but Jonathan Taylor is 7th all time. Number 8 is Billy Sims, really good player, but not a Hall of Famer. And then Nick Chubb is 9th. But the guys who are at 10, 11, 12, 13, and 15, all Hall of Famers. Curtis Martin, O.J. Simpson, Edgerrin James, and Emmitt Smith, and Earl Campbell.
That's really interesting.
He's ahead of Adrian Peterson in yards per game.
Wow. The Jamal Charles case, and this is why I think he's a better example, is the yards per carry. They're 2 of the top all time. For Charles' career, 4 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pro teams. Now he played
How
longer.
long was his career?
9 years.
Yeah.
So he played longer. But in that time, 3 All-Pros, 4 Pro Bowls. And his yards per carry is the stat that stands out above all the rest of Jamal Charles.
Here's the thing.
Nick Chubb, real quick, Nick Chubb, through 5 years, and you count 6 if you want to count last year, but obviously nothing. 4 Pro Bowls, just like Jamal Charles, 1 All-Pro. And they're right in the same category in terms of their yards per carry. Chubb's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. I just think right now he's only done it for 5 years. It's not long enough.
But you also got to take it into consideration. Nick Chubb is one of the most beloved players of his generation.
Yeah, but I don't. That moves Browns fans. I don't know that.
No.
But
I'm talking about nationally. When you talk about the person that Nick Chubb is,
he has Walter Payton type person status.
I agree. I would say this. If Nick Chubb retires today, he's not going to get in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting case.
I think 2 more years. I think you said
originally.
I said he needs.
Because here's the thing.
He needs a couple more years.
Let's compare him to Terrell Davis, who got in based on a short window of greatness.
Short. Yeah.
Terrell Davis is only 58th on the all-time rushing list with 7,600 yards. Right now, Nick Chubb is 81st. He's only 100 yards ahead of Joe Mixon, who we would never think of for the Hall of Fame. No. So he's got to get higher on that list. However, at 6,500 yards, let's say he rushes for another
2,000
in his career.
Yeah,
gets to 8,500. That would put him 43rd all time, which would put him ahead of Hall of Famers like Larry Zonka and Terrell Davis and Leroy Kelly.
All he need is another. If he wins Comeback Player of the Year, or if he gives me a season after this knee injury, where it's 1,400, he's in. Because you got to take into consideration, people are going to say he played in the SEC and he tore up a knee horrifically twice.
Yeah.
Did you guys see him when he did his interview the other day?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he can't work legs, but he's working upper body.
Yeah.
What we could see of him in that shot, he looked bigger and more defined than I've seen him.
I think he's going to bounce back, and it may take him until the second half of the season. But I think if Nick Chubb has 2,000 or more yards, and I think he's going to have more than that. I wouldn't be surprised if he had another 4,000 yards in his career.
If he gets 4,000, you can rubber stamp him.
But I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame yet. But I think he has a good chance to get there.
Yeah,
if
he's
he can
on
get
that.
back
He's
up.
on that path.
But nobody else is. I mean, and to say you have 2 potential Hall of Famers.
Well, Myles Garrett is.
No, I meant besides Myles Garrett and Chubb.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And in a way, it sounds like a slight, but there's not that many guys in the Hall of Fame.
No, and for you to have 2 on the same team and they're on different sides of the ball, you would expect there to be a level of dominance that hasn't been there.
Yeah, let's look at the other AFC North team. Right, the other AFC North teams. Let's look at the Ravens. Who do the Ravens have that's on a Hall of Fame track?
Well, the Steelers have 2 guys on
Lamar
defense.
Jackson.
Is Lamar definitely on a Hall ofAme track?
2 MVPs.
Yeah, I think so. But he's got to have playoff success.
But he's had no playoff success, and his other years he's been mediocre.
I mean, they got.
Is there a 2-time league MVP that's not in the Hall of Fame?
I don't think so. Do you count Derrick Henry as a Raven? He's on a Hall of Fame track.
I don't think he played for the Ravens.
Derrick Henry is definitely
but
a Hall
he's
of
on
Famer.
the track.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry. He's done enough for me.
He has not had 10. He doesn't gotten to 10,000 yards.
No,
yet,
he
but
hasn't.
will
But
this year.
to me,
Did he get
he's a Hall of
2,000?
Famer.
Did he get 2,000 yards?
I don't think so.
Derrick Henry? Yes, he did.
he have one
I believe he
2,000?
did have a 2,000-yard season.
And he had
maybe just over 2,000.
They have
or
anybody,
just under, maybe.
Is Justin Tucker the next kicker to get in the Hall of Fame?
Justin
Yes.
Tucker's in.
Probably.
Derrick Henry did have 2,000.
Just barely, right?
And by the way, he rushed for 2,000.
The Steelers have two guys right now on defense that are Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
Watt and Hayward.
Yeah,
One on offense.
they don't have anybody on offense.
Now I'm not sure because after looking over how few players in the Hall of Fame, I'm not sure Hayward's definitely a Hall of Famer. I don't know.
Watt's
Oh,
definitely
Steelers have anybody on offense? No.
Hey, he's
God, he's been a
Well,
big part of what they do for a long
If Lamar
time.
Jackson, if you're saying Lamar Jackson's on a Hall of Fame track, then is Joe Burrow on a Hall of Fame track? Or no, because he has one MVP?
Well, he's a two-time MVP. I don't know that there's a two-time MVP that's not in the Hall of Fame.
like-
Cam Hayward's definitely. I just looked at his career.
Cam Hayward,
He has 4 All-Pro first teams in his career.
yeah.
He's in.
He's
a Hall-
good. He's just
I don't
good.
know that there may. Mike, do you know that there aren't a number of other defensive players that are for all
Nah,
first teams?
when you as a D lineman, when you watch Cam Hayward, he's like you
He
just
never stood out.
He's
he doesn't
that
stand
good.
out like the all-time greats do.
Oh no.
I think he's there, Bull.
Man, listen.
Guys, it's only like 50. There's not that many Hall of
When
Famers.
you are watching Cam Hayward,
There's no two-time. that's
you
not a Hall of
cannot really block him like that. Like he's never blockable. Like since he's been out, he has
And
not
look at
been
how long
blocked.
he's been in the league, too.
You can't
Mike,
run
what
the
did you
ball.
say about the two-time?
Here's the list of players who have won 2 MVPs. They're all in the Hall of Fame.
It's very short.
Peyton, Aaron Rodgers,
Brady.
Jim Brown, Brett Favre, Johnny Unitas, Mahomes, Montana, Warner, Steve Young, Lamar Jackson. It's a list of
Now,
11.
of all the names you named, the one that's not like the others is
Lamar.
Jackson in the lack of playoff
Yeah.
success.
Lamar Jackson is. I mean, obviously he wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame if he retired right now because he hasn't played enough. But
Why wouldn't he?
you can't go to the Hall of Fame based
Lamar
on 2 good
Jackson?
seasons.
Yeah, no, he's only, 28 years old?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson is the greatest running quarterback ever.
It doesn't matter. He's only had 2 good seasons.
Yeah.
Ain't 2 MVPs. What are you
I
talking
know.
about?
You can't. You don't go to the Hall of Fame based on 2 seasons.
Yeah, I need playoff success, guys.
Oh,
For the
no.
Hall of Fame, I need
we
it,
can't.
man.
You think Lamar Jackson would be in the Hall of
You
Fame?
play the most
Today.
important
Today.
position in the
No
game,
chance.
and your
Today.
team has had minimal playoff success under you.
He's a walking Hall of Famer.
No, I don't see
Yeah,
that.
I don't think so.
Who has gotten in the Hall of Fame based on 2 years?
Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
You look at the people who are in the Hall of Fame with
Yeah.
that caliber of resume, but we're diminishing the man's resume.
No, watch. But because of the lack of playoff success?
That is not a
Gee.
prerequisite for a Hall of Famer.
Let's face it, it definitely matters in the
All
vote.
of those other guys have other things on their resume. Lamar's got nothing else.
What you mean?
He's had 2 good seasons.
How is he-
Those guys all played over a dozen
Watch
great
this.
seasons.
If
or
when-
at
when-
least
well,
10.
I think they all won Super Bowls.
if you telling me that,
Yeah.
that you got, like, let's be clear, Jim Kelly is in the Hall of Fame. What Super Bowls has he won?
Well, it took his team to 4.
He got the 4 Super Bowls.
But you didn't
But
win.
it's not.
Lamar hasn't been to 1.
It's not just about that.
How many MVPs Jim Kelly got?
I don't even know.
How many Super Bowls he got?
Gee, it's not just.
I'm just
You're making it
asking.
about one thing.
But I'm getting you
Mike,
saying you
is he a Hall of Famer right
I'm
now?
not diminishing. He's played 5
Lamar
years and
Jackson
had 2
right now
good
walks
years.
away from the game. Is he getting a gold jacket?
I don't think so yet.
No chance.
And you know what? And I think
I'm not saying he can't.
If you could
he
get
wouldn't. He wouldn't now.
Watch
That's-
this.
Nobody
if
would.
Lamar Jackson just does what he does right now
Yeah.
and never wins the championship, he plays 4 more years, 3 more years, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yes, I'll give you that.
At-
But right
if
now,
he-
today,
Well, it
if he
depends on what he does
If he
in those
plays 3 or 4 years at a MVP level, or he just plays.
No, listen, he's not. He has played at
What's his playoff
relatively at an MVP level his whole career.
What's
He's
his
not gonna
playoff
fall
record
off.
as a starting quarterback? 2-5?
his career playoff record is 2-4.
Okay, not good.
Okay.
But I don't agree. I actually disagree with both of you. I don't think his playoff record eliminates him alone.
Well, what if he's Patrick Mahomes and he's got 2 Super Bowls or 3 Super Bowls?
Patrick Mahomes is the only player in the NFL now, in my opinion,
At
that has
quarterback.
not played enough years to traditionally make the Hall of Fame, but would if he retired today.
Okay,
Because
yeah,
Patrick
I was
Mahomes
hoping
has
we were
been a
going
superstar every year in the league.
Every year.
Lamar Jackson's been great twice, 2 years. It's not enough.
And his other years, you look at and you say, how did the MVP fall down to this level?
The man has 2 MVPs.
But you got nothing else. You just keep saying the same thing.
That's enough. You're the best player. You're the best
for
player
2 years.
So how many people have done it? If it's so easy that caveman could do it, why don't it count?
Nobody's
No, it
saying
counts,
it's not
G.
easy or that it's not a great accomplishment. It is, but there's got to be something else.
I mean, so all right. Well, can we look at the double MVPs? How many of them won Super Bowls?
I think all of them.
Give me a second.
As you were like Young, Montana, Brady, Favre, the others. I think it feels like
Here are the MVP winners.
2 MVP winners.
Multiple MVPs.
Yeah.
No, that's not the right list. Hold
Brady, Manning, Favre, Young, Montana.
on. Okay, here it is. Yep. Peyton, MVP in Super Bowl, yes.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl, yes. Tom Brady, Super Bowl, yes. Johnny Unitas? Did he
Yes.
win one?
Yes.
Yes. Brett Favre?
Yes.
Jim Brown?
No.
Wait a minute.
No.
Johnny Unitas lost Super Bowl
played-
3 to the Jets. Did they win 5? Did they win
Oh,
4 or 5?
I don't know. That was so long ago. I don't know. Jim Brown won championships. He didn't win he won a championship, but he didn't win a Super Bowl.
Well, he didn't play in the Super Bowl era.
Pre-Super Bowl.
He didn't play in the Super Bowl.
I mean,
era. But yes, won
Montana?
championships.
Yes.
I mean,
And you know what? Johnny Unitas won championships in the non-Super Bowl era too.
Right.
But G, I'm getting to one that's going to help your point here. Steve Young? Yes.
He won a Super Bowl.
Mahomes? Yes. Kurt Warner?
He won a Super
Kurt
Bowl.
Warner won a Super Bowl. What are you
Oh,
talking
he did.
about?
Never mind.
Yeah, the Rams. And should have won 2.
I was thinking the Tennessee. No, they won the Tennessee game. You're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had it in mind they lost.
And when the Cardinals lost to the Steelers,
Is that it?
There were 3 plays in there that you could still
it.
scratch
Yep.
in your head over.
Yeah, let me tell you. Gee, I love you, and I think you're misunderstanding what you're making it seem as if I'm saying the MVPs don't matter. They do matter. They're part of his resume, but you can't just have that and nothing else. It's too early in his career.
I
Like,
agree.
but here's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
If I look at the way I look, you look at quarterbacks that in. Eli Manning won some championships. He's not better than Lamar Jackson.
Well,
hold on. Dan Fouts,
but-
Dan Fouts won championships. He's not better than Lamar Jackson.
Well, he's different, though.
It's hard to
different.
compare.
He
It's a
is-
different.
but-
First of all,
but-
I would not personally vote for Eli Manning for the Hall of Fame.
But what
Me
I'm
personally.
saying is,
and he hasn't gotten in yet.
You can't diminish when you talk
He'll
about
get
Hall
in.
of Famer. You can't diminish the fact that this guy is the greatest rushing quarterback of all time. But we talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
We talk about passing yards, right?
Yeah.
The greatest passer of all time.
Right.
We talk about those stats. Rushing yards count too.
And that's benefited him. The reason he's won 2 MVPs is because of the rushing stats.
So he's dynamic. He changes the
But
game.
he's only done it for 2 years.
Okay,
It's not enough.
And his team records, how many times has he been to the playoffs, right? He's been in the playoffs. How many?
Well,
every
4.
year?
I mean,
4
but
times.
He
4.
hasn't won.
And for me, I know
Yeah.
that you say that like it's not a prerequisite postseason play. It is.
It is for you. Now,
No, I mean, I've talked to a lot of voters
Yeah.
on how they make these decisions. To me, the head scratcher is Clay Matthews. He's a big head scratcher for me. Now, I know that there's a camp that say he wasn't a all-pro player enough years. I factor in everything. I look at longevity. I look at playoff success. I look at leadership skills. I look at the whole. I try to.
Right.
So for me, what would be the glaring piece of evidence against voting for him is the lack of playoff success.
Right,
And G appropriately brings up Jim Kelly. However, Jim Kelly's done something in the postseason that no one else has done.
Well,
he went to 4 straight Super Bowls.
There are quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame that didn't win a Super Bowl besides Jim Kelly.
There are, of course
Dan
there are.
Marino is
Yes.
in the Hall of Fame.
Plunkett won Super Bowls.
But Dan Marino got in because he threw for the most yards and he was the greatest passer.
You can't be great for 2 years. That's all I'm saying. To me, my argument has nothing to do. Yes, Lamar's been bad in the. Here's the difference. You look at people who say, "Well, Dak Prescott hasn't won anything," but Dak hasn't been bad in the playoffs. People have said Josh Allen hasn't won anything. Josh Allen hasn't been bad in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson has been overall terrible in the playoffs.
Do you have his touchdowns and interceptions in the
He's
6
been
playoff
awful,
games?
but
because he has not played well.
If Lamar Jackson the way he's played his 2 MVP seasons, if he played like that for a number of more years, he'd get in the Hall of Fame.
Of course
it's just not enough at this point.
I mean, we basically on a silver tray just gave Terry Bradshaw. And he got carried into the. He got carried.
Different time.
Dude.
Gee, it was a different time.
It was the year of the running back.
He
It
got
was the era of the
carried.
running
He
back.
had 2 Hall of Fame receivers,
the
best defense of all time.
He had more interceptions than touchdowns.
So I can't make with a straight face. I cannot sit here and serve up no Terry Bradshaw and tell me Lamar Jackson is not a Hall of Fame. That's crazy.
Did Eli Manning carry the Giants to those Super Bowls? No.
He had one of the greatest. Look, his defense was one of the greatest of all time.
He was a good player. To me, Eli Manning's not a Hall of Famer. But
he's in.
Lamar Jackson has played like
he's
a
not yet.
Lamar Jackson has played in the regular season like a Hall of Famer 2 seasons. To me, that's not enough. I wouldn't vote.
What are his
there's no way
playoff
I'd vote
stats?
for him yet.
In 6 playoff games, he has 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 75.
Yeah, that's awful. He's been awful in the playoffs.
He's got to have playoff success.
Hey, listen, man.
And it's not like they've been a big underdog in a lot of these games.
We move the goalposts a lot when we start talking about championships because we use that as the filibuster for any time that we don't agree with something. If you don't, you can't sit here and put so much on did he win a championship?
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with how good this player is. It's a team
But he
sport.
hasn't been good for long enough.
Oh, listen.
That's all I'm saying.
So, to me, listen, if you look at him and his trajectory, if he doesn't win a Super Bowl and he continues to do what he does and he never does anything in the postseason, he's a Hall of Famer.
I agree, but he's got to do it longer, not just
and
2
I
years.
agree with that too.
Yeah.
I agree with that too. However, if you're a 2-time MVP and you're 2-4 in the playoffs, the evidence is there. When your team is counting on you the most, you have not been at your best.
To this point in his career,
now,
he's got more time to do it.
Eli is the antithesis of that. Eli never won a playoff game outside of the 2 years he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right.
But the 2 years they won the Super Bowl because of his greatness in the playoffs.
Well, yeah.
I mean, look at that last drive against the Patriots to beat the all-time greatest Patriots team. And a little bit of luck. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, everybody gets a little bit of luck. But he made some throws on that last drive.
And the rest of his career, he was just kind of a good quarterback.
You're right. He wasn't as good as Lamar Jackson, but he's got 2 rings and 2 Super Bowl MVPs.
That's right.
And it counts who he did it against, too.
Phillip Rivers
He beat Tom Brady in both.
For me, no.
Is Phillip Rivers Hall of Fame?
No, he's
I
not for
wouldn't vote
me
for him
either.
for the Hall of Fame.
And Phillip is a great example of a guy who did it for a long time at a very high level, but never played in a Super Bowl.
No, and if you're going to get in the Hall of Fame without a Super Bowl, Jim Kelly's case is unique because he went there 4 times.
Dan Marino's the example.
Generally, your numbers have to be so above and beyond.
As Marino's were. He was
Right?
the
Like
all-time
Phillip
passing
Rivers
leader
put
when he
up
left the
really
game.
good career numbers, but they're not mind-blowing special, and he never won anything. So the combination.
You know what else is
leaves
tough,
him out.
guys? And I think we all get trapped in this, is that we look at numbers because that's what we have. But in the 70s, when Super Bowls were won with running backs, you look at Bradshaw's career numbers, and
They're
you're
terrible.
like, this guy with these numbers would be cut after 3
Joe
years.
Namath's
Joe
terrible
Namath.
numbers.
Joe
Namath,
Namath's
same.
numbers
Joe
are
Namath.
trash.
But it was a different NFL. Players were asked to do different things back then.
But guess what? It's a different NFL, and every quarterback now is mobile. Every quarterback has
Most
to
of
run.
them, yeah.
Well,
It's a
the
new
majority,
generation.
right.
And
because the game is transformed to that.
And guess what? The man at the top of the food chain who's the best at doing that is Lamar Jackson.
Agreed. But he's got to play at that level for longer to get. If he retired today, I don't think anybody would vote for him for the
Well, I
Hall of
asked the
Fame.
chat this question, Jay.
Yeah.
And what do you guys think the chat said? And the question, I'll read it word for word. If he retired today, is Lamar Jackson a Hall of Famer? What do you think the chat
I would
says?
say be close to 50% would say yes.
Gee, what do you say?
I know.
What do you
But
think?
I'm also
This is
projecting
what
on
the
the
chat
chat.
says.
Well, listen, he's a Baltimore Raven. He been kicking our tails for long enough, so I don't know. They might be like, man, I ain't voting for nothing. I don't care if you ever get in. I would say people would say maybe 65-35 that they would say
yes.
I think
no?
they may say no.
Oh, okay.
65-35.
I say 70-30 no, but I'm always wrong when it comes to guessing.
Boy, you're the closest. 68% say no to that.
Yeah.
32% say yes. And I hate to interrupt this conversation, but I do have to mention something real quick. We're supposed to be on Channel 3 at 12:30.
Yeah.
Right.
But the French Open's on. So we're not on Channel 3 today.
Oh,
So-
wow. You know what?
We found out mid-show We got a text saying, by the way, there's no UCSS
And you know
on
what?
TV.
Bad job out of me, guys.
You
Joe.
forgot about that?
I knew it.
See, we
And
tripped up.
it never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
So bad job out of Jay. So all those extra 7 topics that we prepared for today,
Yeah.
we'll just save for next week.
Yeah.
We'll get through the rest of the stuff. We may add
No
one at the
overtime
end.
still today. No overtime.
No overtime,
Yeah,
but
got
we
it.
will go till 12 o'clock on YouTube. So get ready to continue.
Can I
1
just say
o'clock,
something-
1
Can I
o'clock.
just say something quickly?
Yeah.
So this is a barbershop argument.
Yeah.
These are the arguments that are evergreen.
These are fun.
We don't do these enough during the off season.
We actually don't.
Yeah,
We don't.
I think these are fantastic
We
topics.
don't. These are the ones we should be talking about because this is when people say sports talk, people think about this, like the banter or who's
Yes,
in,
people
who
love
out.
lists.
Yeah.
They love either ors.
Yeah.
They love all-time great conversations. So I think the GOAT thing is always fascinating. But this
Jay,
is
real
a
quick.
great topic.
And I like when they come up organically.
I do
because
too.
sometimes when I give it to them, if I we try to force something when it comes up
You're
like
right.
this is at its best. So that's why I was like, hey, we're supposed to move on to 2 topics by now. But I'm like, no, let's
No, I know.
Knowing that we also had till 1 o'clock and not 12:27. But when they come up organically like this, I'm not gonna ever tell y'all to shut up.
No, yeah, good job.
I'm gonna let this roll because that is a fun conversation. It's engaging to the chat.
Well, what's funny
And
is
plenty
you
of time.
are emphatic a yes, and I'm not emphatic no, but I'm a no. I think Bull's more emphatic no than I am.
Can you imagine doing this in a Hall of Fame committee though? Because this.
Oh, yeah.
This happens. Like you got people from all across the city or all across the U.S. that maybe watched a guy, saw a guy,
Yes.
maybe in his backyard, maybe it was a rival, and you're telling people like Clay Matthews, and you're telling other guys your resume ain't good enough.
And what's interesting about that, G, is that you have someone in the media advocating for you.
Mm-hmm.
So in this committee room, when they're voting, it's like micro versus macro. A guy who has seen every snap of this player's career is trying to talk to the other 31 guys and tell them what they missed by not seeing every single play that this person played.
Or the Cam Hayward conversation, Cam Hayward came up, and it's like, oh no, I know how much he wrecked our game plans every single year.
That's right. We in the
he-
AFC North recognize how great Cam Hayward is.
That dude is like, no, trust me. He might not have 90 sacks, but no. That guy, ask Joe Thomas about him up front. Ask
I
them
agree.
boys.
And by the way, I'll put a bow on it with this, and you guys can weigh in too. Lamar Jackson will end up in the Hall of Fame. I believe that Lamar Jackson is still young. He's still under 30 years old.
Yeah, his resume
He
is sort of
learned his playoff progression has been there. At least he made it to. Now they were home and favored to win, if I'm not mistaken, weren't they? Mm-hmm. In their playoff loss.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's got to figure out a way to take that extra step.
But you know what's so funny? Well, we look back at it like this. When Bull said, well, is Joe Burrow in? Well, what about Josh
Joe
Allen?
Burrow's not in.
No,
I'm
Joe
saying,
Burrow
is he on a track?
But watch this, though.
Yeah.
It's on a track, sure.
It may be. I don't know how it's going to play out. What if Patrick Mahomes just turns into Michael Jordan?
What do you mean? Isn't he already Michael Jordan?
He just don't let nobody win.
Well, yeah.
So I look at Michael Jordan and Karl Malone and Stockton, no rings. Ewing, no rings. Barkley, no rings. These are some of the greatest players of all time. They just happen to be born the same time as Michael Jordan.
You know, it's interesting. We always talk about the class of Roethlisberger, Rivers, and Manning, Eli. And two of them played in the AFC when Tom Brady was Michael Jordan.
Yeah, that is crazy, right?
Roethlisberger found a way to
found-
get in
he
there
did,
and
he
get
did.
rings.
He got
Rivers
twice.
did not.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is
Yeah.
tough. You're right. Now is not a great time to be an AFC quarterback.
No, and
because
again,
this guy's got a lock.
Again,
on
we
the
got to
Super Bowl.
remember, you can't just even be great. You got to be the best of the best to get in the Hall of Fame. You guys, all right, I was just looking at defensive tackles. There are almost no defensive tackles in the Hall of Fame, at least that played in, some of the defensive tackles
Warren
played in the
Sapp.
50s
John
and 60s.
Randall, Warren Sapp.
John Randall's not recent.
Well, he's for
Okay.
us he's recent.
Guys
because
that
we
have
watched his whole
played,
career.
guys that have played most
In
of their
the
career,
2000s.
let's say, even going back to the 80s, defensive tackle. Randy White from the Cowboys.
Yeah.
His career ended in the 80s. Jason Taylor was an end, right?
Yes.
Strahan was an end.
Yep.
Yep.
Bruce Smith was an end.
I imagine there's way more
Green
ends
was
than
the
tackles.
end.
Warren Sapp 2, John Randall 3, I mean, Alan Page, but he retired
Allen was
in
in the
81.
70s. And he was
Yeah.
in the 70s.
Shout out to
Older.
And the judge,
Jane
that's
the
right.
Judge,
Bob Lilly. I mean, he
There's not a
retired in
lot.
the early 70s.
No,
Not a
it's
lot.
just a
Cortez
handful.
Kennedy is 4.
Now, listen, to me,
Dan Hampton, who played in the 80s, that's
Cortez
5.
Kennedy played for Seattle. I think Hayward.
Mean Joe Green, but that was again.
70s.
I mean, that's about it.
Wow, that is small. Bro.
I mean, so I don't know that Cam Hayward's getting in the Hall of
We
Fame.
talk about the shifting in priorities.
Yeah.
Look how much more important even the interior, but just look how much more important the defensive line is today.
Sure, but that's more about, to me, it's more about
Edge
pass
pass
rushers. You know,
rushers, yeah.
I just don't know, like, to be in the Hall of Fame as a defensive tackle, all those guys that we mentioned had a lot of sacks. How many, where does Cam Hayward in sacks? He's just not a big sack guy.
Cam Hayward's just
You know,
I always use my eye test.
How many run-stuffing defensive tackles are in the Hall of Fame? There's just not really many in
Not a
there.
lot.
Hayward for his career has 80.5 sacks.
That's more than I
a
thought.
lot.
How many did Warren Sapp finish with? Over 100, right?
I think over 100.
1 sec.
That's a whole lot.
I think he was over
Oh,
100.
he had 80 and a half?
He had 96. So, I mean, Cam Hayward's going to be, if he has another year or two.
Hey, man.
He had 10 sacks last year. So.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, if he gets 8,
Yeah.
this
No,
year,
sorry,
8
10
next
sacks
year,
and 22
He's
and
at Warren
21.
Sapp's number. He's in.
I mean, he's got a shot. I just don't think he's a lock just because there's so few defensive tackles.
Man, he is
That is fair.
He's that good.
Yeah, I mean, I mean,
Would you
that
vote
good.
for him? Because I would. I would.
I just
Watching defensive line,
He's
when
close.
they come and say they show you that tape and say this
Yeah.
is what you're supposed to play like, he's on all the clinic tape.
Yeah, he's
yeah.
so
And
good.
by the way, I would even argue that Joe Burrow's not really on a Hall of Fame track. I mean,
well, he's only
not.
played what 4 seasons,
it's
3
too
seasons?
early. He's missed too much time.
Yeah.
And you know what? I love him, but he's
But-
He is
missed
not.
too much time.
Well, what we can say about him is,
Yeah.
because he is Jekyll and Hyde. People think that he's always great when he plays. He's been very, very average to below average against the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, but that's really it. It's
It is
only
it.
been
I
the
mean,
Browns.
we've had his number, and
Yeah,
I'm
for
not
whatever
sure why.
reason.
But I also say I know what Hall of Fame play looks like.
Yeah.
And the year he took them to the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
that was what Hall of Fame play was to me.
Right.
Now, no, he's too young.
No.
He's
He-
way too young.
he hasn't played
Dan
enough
Marino,
games.
he could end up being Dan Marino, who went to a Super Bowl in year number 2 and never
Yeah.
got back.
Yeah, the Bengals. I don't think of anybody on a Hall of Fame track.
I don't either.
I mean, you know,
I mean,
Jamar Chase very early.
Yeah.
Somebody asked
Through 2 years, he's done
Yeah.
everything that you would want a Hall of Fame
Yeah.
receiver to do for through
right.
2
in the
years.
chat said Donovan McNabb or Cam Newton. Nah, they ain't no Hall of Famers, dog.
Neither.
No.
Just
Neither.
stop.
No, they're not.
All right, we're going to take a break, even though we are going to 12 o'clock. We still got to get ad reads
1
in. And
o'clock, Mike,
1
1
o'clock,
o'clock.
excuse me. It's already 12. 1 o'clock.
We're
Got to
done
get our
21
ad
minutes
reads
ago.
in. And FanDuel is the official sponsor of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more, and you can bet it all on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That is $200 you can use to bet on everything from the Finals, MVP, to who's going to hit one out of the park. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. I want to talk a little Cavs, guys, then we'll go back and talk about the coverage of the 3 teams. But if we talk Cavs, that means we will have covered all 3 today, and then we could wrap up with the coverage. Chris Fedor put out a report yesterday that the Cavs are looking at a number of different targets for the 20th pick, and this ranges everywhere from guards to forwards to bigs, including Zach Edey, the Purdue center. This is a list that goes on and on and on from Fedor's article. Jacoby Walters, Zach Edey, Tristan Da Silva, Johnny Furphy, Kyle Filipikowski, Carlton Carrington, Isaiah Collier, Bobby Klintman, Terrence Shannon Jr., Ryan Dunn. It goes on and on.
I
My
mean, you could
question
be
to
making
guys
up
is-
all those names.
No, those are real names, I promise.
I've never heard of that. I can't analyze it. I've never heard of any of these guys except for Zach Edey, or however you pronounce his name, just because he was a big, oaf.
Well, I think, was he the Big Ten Player of the Year?
He was the National Player of the Year 2 years in a row.
Okay, yeah.
So, but he's a 7'4" center. My question to you guys is, they bringing in guys, as they should, do your due diligence on everybody, guards, centers, bigs, wings, all the above. Can they afford not to draft a wing with the 20th pick? Can they go best player available, or because of the glaring need at that specific position,